At the beginning, we gave them flowers and we just give it to them and say, hey, if you want to plant flowers. So now they do it by themselves. Every year they try to, because they see the value of caring. My name is Javier Mondragon. I am the pastor of Grace Point South Campus. I grew up in this city called Cuernavaca. It's in Mexico. It's just an hour south of Mexico City. It's a big city, about 3 million people lived in this neighborhood. This neighborhood was the second most violent neighborhood of the city, and police couldn't come in there. You know, if there was 2 or 3 policemen just by themselves, they wouldn't be able to come. They had to call more for more backup. It was very violent. It was really bad community. And I felt like nobody cared for the community, really. There was a lot of people in every corner, just doing drugs, smoking, the trash in the streets. Nobody cared. I included myself. But there was a couple of churches in the community, and I remember I was only 10 or 12 years old, and I remember people going to church on Sundays or Wednesdays, different days of the week, and just going there. And I would walk by the church just on the street, and I can hear they were singing and doing their thing, but they would come out of church and they would just go to their homes. And I still remember that nobody told me anything about Jesus, nobody told me anything about, this is not good for you. It was just about themselves. And I always had that in mind. This is my first ministry, this is our first church, but I decided that I'm gonna be a missionary wherever I am. I'm gonna be a missionary. And that's how I see myself. That's how the leadership in this church see themselves, as missionaries in their own town. When we first came to this building, we started the church 4 years ago. I went to my neighbors and I knocked on the doors. I introduced myself to them. I told them I was going to be the pastor here in this church. I live next door, so I told them I'm going to be your neighbor too. If there is anything I can do to help, just let me know. When I did that, I found out that people were not very positive about this building, this church. I guess probably the church that was here before didn't have a very good reputation. I believe with all my heart that buildings are where they are to be light. Wherever you move, wherever you are, wherever your building is, the purpose of that building in that community, in that specific neighborhood, is for you to be light. God called us to do that. Jesus said, you are the light of the world. You are the salt. It's not about ourselves. The church is not about ourselves. It's going out, it's help people, is making this community a better. As we help in the church, we try to make the church even to look better too. We always try to keep our yard always clean, plant flowers, because if we are serving and trying to do that for the community, it has to start with us. We have to start with our example, always trying to make the community look better. What I see, and this is very important, I think, is we are trying to clean our corner here, our church, and I can see my neighbor across the street now. He's trying to have his yard clean, and he's trying to plant flowers in his yard. And then I see the other one besides him, and how this makes a difference. There is a book, it's called The Tipping Point, and I read that book, and I didn't really see how that can happen, but it happens when you start caring for your corner, for your side. You will see that the next neighbor will start taking care of their yard, and then the next one. So I can see how this area, at least this block, this street, all the people care for their street. It's empowering the community. It's not just doing something for them. It's not just a handout, but it's empowering them to help themselves.